Well, howdy, everybody.
Hey,
Welcome
hey.
aboard. How are you guys doing this evening?
Good, good.
Pretty
We
good.
got,
Good evening, gentlemen.
I think we got us a fun one scheduled for tonight. But
Oh, yeah.
before we bring on our guest of honor, why don't we run around the horn real quick? And how are things going in your neck of the woods, Greg?
Pretty good. We've got a bunch of rain. We had a bunch of ice and snow came in, and the rain to follow, and it went from ice skating weather to just mud. And make sure you have an arc ready just in case. So much rain, so much water, and so that's a fun time. It's nice and warm here, which makes you want to get out there and crack lids and check on bees. But it was downpouring, so hard today. I'm like, it's probably not worth getting there to crack lids and check on things until we get enough kind of dry weather come through there. But right now, it's an exciting time at the farm. We're ramping up the nuke and package orders, and so of course those are all coming in, and we're getting everybody scheduled, and that part of the business is growing, and the farm shop here is growing with the EnduraHive wax dip line of equipment. So a lot of exciting things happening here at Nature's Image Farm. Spring is right around the corner. And see, look at that. Brian's got one of the very few EnduraHive wax dipped hats. So a lot of fun around here. It's that time where it doesn't even feel like we've had a winter break. It's right into that spring push already. It's been a lot of fun, especially coming off the heels of the big Bee Expo conference. And so we're just chugging along, moving forward. No winter rest, no break. It's just spring, full speed ahead. So, of course,
Awesome.
today we got to be representing the
Absolutely.
Stream Team mug. How about you guys? What's Brian? How's things in your neck of the woods?
Oh, man. Flooded. Yeah, we got the same exact weather. It's miserable, but it's warm, So 51, I think I've got that new weather system. So I'm like constantly going over and like checking the barometer and checking the rainfall. Today, I think we got close to half an inch of rain. I just checked a little bit ago. It seems like it's more than that because there's literally, I know when it rains a lot because out of the soy field, there will be a stream going into the yard, and we've got the stream forming in the yard. So it seems like there's more than a half an inch, but yeah, the weather is just crazy. And, I was looking at the forecast, and we've got like this warm front coming through that I'm sure you know about, and then it's going to dip down into the 30s again. But then after that, like next week, every day is in the like mid 40s up here, so you'll be hitting 50. And for first
Unreal.
week of like last week of January, first week of February, to have like mid to upper 40s for a week straight it's crazy. So
Yeah.
but I just that said, I'm going to have to be on top of just checking the colonies just to make sure that I don't have any that starve out because if they're getting low on stores, I got frames that I can swap out and do things like that. So I'll just stay on top of the colonies.
Yeah.
So but yeah, this weather's crazy.
What about
Yeah.
you, Bruce? Do you have some warm weather to really rub in our face right now? Do you?
It's been pretty warm. We did have some, it was pretty cold, I think, by anybody's standards. We were in the teens, I think, for a day or two. And
Oof.
then, but for one evening, I think one night, but it's warm today. It's just kind of balmy out there. But I've been fighting these hive beetles down here, as anyone who watches my channel knows, and I finally went through this past weekend into some nice colonies that weren't having that issue, and it was just nice to see some strong colonies. And that video is uploaded and should be dropping here in the next day or two. So that'll be pretty cool. But without further ado, I'd like to move on to and bring our guest in tonight. And Brian, could you bring Kamon in? There he is.
Who?
Man of the hour. Kamon, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, fellas. So thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Well, I know obviously for many people in the comment section here and those who were either at the conference or who watched from afar, it was just quite the event. And we thought we'd bring you on tonight and just let you kind of talk about your take on it, how things went, and kind of a little bit, just kind of a follow up on the conference, and maybe if you have any plans moving forward, just kind of, just we're going to give you the floor and let you take a few minutes and talk about that.
Well, thank you for letting me do that, and thanks for everyone being out They're messaging in the comments. Several of you are my friends, and I recognize you. Keith, Jake Osborne, Grammy. It was so good to see so many of you. There's Terry, there's Sean. There's so many good folks. Hey, Josh Voorhees. That guy's not a beekeeper, but he is a good friend. And so we've got a lot of folks here in the comments that mean a lot to me, and I've known for years. And thank you for either being at the conference or supporting things and people that were there, and that means a lot to Laurel and I. So there's a lot of things to break down. It's a lot to unpack. The expo was huge, and it just really is hard to absorb because there's so many people there, and there's so many cool people there that you want to meet, and there's not enough time to do it. It's almost 3 days at this point. And man, it's just, I keep looking through videos, I look through pictures, and I'm like, I forgot to do that. There's stuff I wanted to purchase. There was stuff I wanted to ask about. There were people that I wanted to just say hi and shake their hand and hug, and I didn't get to. And so I guess Laurel and I will just have to come back next year. I guess that's what we'll have to do. But it was great seeing you guys do your thing, and that's what makes the Bee Expo special, is it's built like America originally was. It's a free market enterprise. People come in and they bring in Queen Right dials, and there's new stuff like Propola, and there's new vaporizers, and there's new technology. Young guys like Jed Thorne, Thorne Manufacturing companies like Hilco, which are very young. Obviously, the stream team hasn't been around that long, but it seems to be as much of a part of the Bee Expo as anything. And, of course, Bob Benny might as well be the grandpa of the Bee Expo. And so it's just a lot of fun. And you got your, just personalities, and some of them may not seem that big to some folks, but to me, they mean a lot. And a couple of those people that stand out is like Larry and Mary Ann Sears in West Virginia, just sweet people, and there's a bunch of people like that. That's why the Bee Expo is so fun, is it's chock full of really good folks that don't want to get in the spotlight, really. They just want to be a part. They just want to help out with their local community and then help out with the Bee Expo. And they donated several things. I cannot remember the exact number, but it was an observation hive or two. There were several things that they build with their wood shop, and it's just fine carpentry. And they raised enough again this year to sponsor like 3 kids almost, just from what they brought into the silent auction. Boy, that's going to make a difference to 3 kids.
Oops.
And so that's pretty awesome. And there's a lot of people that donated to the silent auction. So if you all were one of them, or if you bid on it, we appreciate that. We, with just a slight bit of rounding up on our part, are going to be able to have 30 kids with full rides again next year, and that's a really awesome number. And that's called our Next Gen Bee program. That'll be released sometime around May, where they can start submitting a short video and a little bit of information on what they do. And boy, it was awesome. We had some young guys and gals that gave me shiver bumps at all the stuff they were doing in their community at an age when I was just getting started and couldn't even figure out if I should be feeding bees or not, So they're way ahead of me.
Awesome.
There's a lot of different routes that we can go and talk about the Bee Expo, but it ended up being quite a bit of fun. Leading up to any of these type of events, anyone who's run a conference or any type of event, there's a lot of stress that goes into it, no matter what you do, because you're trying to make thousands of people happy, and just sometimes it's not even they're being cantankerous, it's just they're asking questions, and you just can't get that volume of questions out. And then you do you send out the emails, you send out the Facebook posts, you send out all the stuffs, and 20% of them don't read any of it, and then they ask you.
Yeah.
And so right before the conference, I look a little fried always, and I feel a lot better now. I recorded a video post-conference, which I hope to post in the future, and I look like a totally different person than I did right before the conference. And I've got a couple plans in place to where I can be a little bit more energetic for everybody next time around, but ultimately I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I just want to say thank you to everybody, because it would take an hour to thank each individual person that did something special. The vendors were great. The attendees were awesome. We had a lot of people just chip in and help out and just be nice and say thank you. And boy, I hope everybody realizes what they're shaking up in the bee industry, because there's a lot of stuff that's happening because of this. It's sending shockwaves throughout the United States, up into Canada, and into other countries as well, because if we can do this here, can they do that there? And also, if things can be innovated in a place that people didn't think they could be innovated. And we have all these young companies that are under 5 years, and there's several of them at the Bee Expo that did very well. If that can happen, what are the other things that people think that can't happen in beekeeping because it's just too much of a dying art or whatever they think, that actually can be done? And so there's a lot of people starting to take themselves outside of the box and wonder, what if? And could I? And that's exciting. Now, generally in beekeeping, though, you want to know what's going in the box. You want to stay in the box. You want your bees to stay in the box. But in this case, get outside the box a little bit and all that. So there's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's very fulfilling. I know that you guys have probably felt this at moments with the stream team. Whenever I played music or played a sport and you have a group of individuals who create something together, whether it's barely pulling it off and getting the win in the game, or maybe playing a song and just really playing it well in music. That's the way it felt like at the Bee Expo. It was something that was created by several moving parts, and some of the people in the comments, like Josh Voorhees and Jake Osborne and Jeremy Lindsay and several others, put so much work into this expo, just volunteered and said, hey, we want to be a part of this. And if it wasn't for them, well, the thing would have imploded probably. So
Yeah.
thanks, fellas. And thanks, Laurel. Of course. I mean, that goes without saying, but you got to say it anyways. You guys are married, right?
Yeah.
You got to say it.
Yeah.
You got to say it.
One thing I noticed this year that may have been a little different than the past was you did look tired, but you looked like you were having a good time. I just noticed that even at the conference, that you know, obviously with all the prep that went into this, throwing this thing together, you know, really you had to put it together very quickly. You know, you had about 6 months, I think, or something like that, or less, to put this thing together. And so you had a lot on your plate, and like you say, your team just did an absolutely awesome job. And it was so many people were on the team, just people that I met last year just as attendees, and they were willing to step up and take care of that. And man, it ran very smoothly, I thought. And so it was kind of fun to see you, though you were busy and you were, you know, a bit distracted as would be expected. You seemed to be enjoying yourself, and especially I think as the time moved forward, it just seemed like you were kind of having a little bit more fun at the conference. I know at the beginning you were probably a little worried, as you can only imagine, but as it progressed and things were going well, it seemed like you were enjoying yourself, and just the whole atmosphere, you know, that was there. It's just bigger and better, you know, this year to me, and just the excitement that was there was just off the charts. It was just amazing. And Kami, you also mentioned some upstart companies. You know, one thing I think in the past that I think, well, maybe not in the past, one thing that's going on now is that someone like, you know, Brian and Jason could get together. They meet, you know, through the conference, through YouTube, and they could put together a product like Queen Right Dial. You know, and you got people people see that happening, and then the wheels begin to turn. And so you see products like that coming out, like you say, innovation that probably never would have happened. I mean, what if Brian and Jason had never met and discussed that? You know, it's just little things like that. I think that's kind of the whole, one of the big bases, one of the big reasons you're doing the conference is to help with this innovation.
Oh, it's so much fun to see people be creative and bring something of value to the industry. There's been a lull in the beekeeping industry for a handful of years where there just wasn't a whole lot of new stuff happening, and the few new things that were happening weren't getting out there because basically if you didn't work with a handful of companies, you're going to have a very difficult time marketing. But that was back in the day when we marketed with catalogs and American bee journals and bee culture magazines, and there's nothing wrong with that. Heck, the first gift I ever gave to Laurel, letting her know that I like you, girl, was a hive tool and a subscription to the American Bee Journal. I went all out, and you know, but she liked that kind of stuff, and so it ended up working out for me. I probably should have started off with some flowers and maybe a necklace or something, but beekeepers are built different, and
Absolutely.
so things have changed now to where marketing can be easier to attain if you maybe have a YouTube channel or bring it to the Bee Expo, which that's what part of the reason it exists for, is to launch products, and so that people can meet the innovators and say, wow, thank you for doing this, and I'm going to buy it and support you now, or I'm excited about this technology that you're in the process of making, and I'm looking forward to supporting you. And also, there's a lot of companies who are bigger and looking for something like the Queen Right dial or something along those lines, and like, we're looking for new products. We don't have the time to innovate. We're too busy maintaining 500 products, but that's where innovators can show up to the expo and then find companies possibly to distribute for them. So it's a real big melting pot of creativity, and not just on the trade show side. The trade show side gets a lot of the credit because it's the biggest. That room was 129,000 square feet. And the Thursday, yes, I was like, and Wednesday and Thursday, I was like, oh my goodness, because I had 14,000 square feet set aside for product storage. And I thought for sure, Greg, that we were going to have all kinds of room to be able to fit your big family in, and then all of your stuff too. And I'm not even sure if we could have stuck you in the back room by the time we got that filled up.
It's unbelievable to think about, Kamon. It was literally just June or so of this year, and there was big news and big excitement that things are going to change a little bit. And as everyone is prepping this, what is that going to look like? What is that going to mean? It's so beautiful because it's such a fertile ground, and the community is so beautifully committed to see this community grow and be a part of something bigger than ourselves, that you've got all this innovation happening during all this unknown big change that's going to happen. And so many products are coming up. Companies are investing, they're showing up. And then when you get to Louisville, and the docks are full of semi-loads being unloaded, and the vendor storage is just one semi-load after another. One thing I think we would be remiss not to mention, without going down the road of the big guy versus the small guy, there are semi-loads of product being fulfilled by the small guys, and probably the first time ever in one of these kind of situations. And that's a beautiful testament of where I think the market is, where the community is, the innovation, and folks who are literally voting with their wallets, putting their money where their mouth is, and providing products. Queen Right dial was obviously one that got a lot of folks' attention. Rob had a brand new vaporizer that debuted right there in the same area. We had a secret launch of our Endura Hive wax dipped lines, and also collaborating with Premier and wax dipping the Propola line of boxes. There was one thing after another, all at the same place, the same time. It just goes to show that when the ground is fertile and there are those there to tend to those seeds, the fruits of that labor are so extremely abundant. What in the world does 2025 look like? I can't even begin to think of that.
I'm past the point of really predicting what's going to happen and what's not going to happen, because I just really don't know. Just don't know. And
just roll with it. Yeah.
Just roll with it. So like I said, in my mind, 14,000 square feet for product storage was going to be plenty enough. I was thinking, oh man, this is plenty good. This is going to be great. We're going to be able to do donuts with the pallet jacks back in here, and people will be able to get their stuff in. But see that, I didn't know how much you were going to be able to sell Greg, and Hilco blew past the expectations that they had, and so did most other companies. And I had, I believe, 2 semi-loads of bottles show up to the expo, and I don't know if everything sold, but I've talked to one of the manufacturers, and they did quite well on just selling bottles. And so who knows what's next? That's the nice thing, is we try to keep the pricing affordable enough to where it doesn't kill you, and you can bring in a lot of product, and that storage space is, it's not, it's free this year, so now we may need to rethink that if John Hill keeps going crazy like he does. I think he had 6 semi-loads of stuff this year, so there maybe a Hillco tax gets put in place. I don't know. I hope John's watching this. So all jokes aside, though, there's battles going on for the consumer. We're going to have a cooler-looking display. We're going to have great pricing. We're going to have this. We're going to have that, and the consumer is going to come in and say, this is what I like. And you're training the companies when you come to the Bee Expo to cater to the things that you want to see more of. And so it's a lot of fun. We'll never get it perfect. And some of the vendors this year were like, man, I wish I'd have done that a little differently. But they're growing and learning with us. And who knows, next year we may only have 2,000 people. We may have 5. I have no clue at all. I do know, if things go the way I think they're going, we're going to need a lot more storage space.
Yeah.
And that's a good problem to have. And so one of the areas of growth that we saw as well was the honey swap. The honey swap had 7,500 and something jars swapped, and just people sharing honey left and right. And it's exciting, because I know I really enjoy my collection of honeys that I have. I don't know how many jars. I really need to count them, but over the last few years of YouTube and a lot of speaking engagements and stuff, and purchasing several myself, people have given me, or I've purchased jars, I don't know, 50, 60 varieties of honey in here from different places around the country. And I've always thought that's really cool. Bob Benny has a massive one at his place. And so it's just kind of a cool thing to do, but it can be tricky to get it, but not at the Bee Expo. It's not. Nope. It's easy. So as long as you make Honeybee Tennessee do all the work, it's super easy. Thanks, Jessica. So that was a really nice service that they offered, and that's Honeybee Tennessee, and what a nice nonprofit they are. And it started with Jessica, who was a small-scale beekeeper, and I think still is a small-scale beekeeper. And then, not to take away from that, but just to show that small-scale beekeepers can have big impacts. And she's like, why don't we have a honeybee license plate in our state? And she didn't have a social media following at the time. And so it took her a lot of work, and I remember those days, and she was having to get out there. And I can't remember how long it took, but it took a while to meet the minimum to get those license plates. And there's always people that either go, oh, this is stupid, and there's some people that are like, I wonder if this will actually happen. That was kind of me. I'm just like, I wonder where this is going. And, fast forward, and they're working with all kinds of schools and donating towards a lot of bee programs, and they donate to help do stuff at our conference as well, time and money to make it work. So what an awesome thing they've got going on. So there's just a lot of ways to be of service to the community of beekeepers, and I have no clue how many Tennesseans they're turning into beekeepers, but I know they're turning a lot of people in the schools into very interested into becoming beekeepers, and also like, hey, Mom, we need to go get some real honey. So it's always exciting. There's a couple comments over here on the side. One of them's way up there. And Marianne Sears comments, Kamon, I knew you and Larry were cut from the same cloth. I got gum boots, a weed eater, and my own chainsaw when they got married, apparently, or maybe for a birthday present prior to it. So, hey, simple people give you simple gifts. That's all I've got to say about it. To me, I give gifts like I like to be given gifts. And so chainsaws, muck boots, all those types of things, yeah, bring it on. tools. I got a Christmas gift this year. You know those impact, like those DeWalt impact drills?
Mhm.
It was one of the big ones for like taking off semi tires and stuff like that. Awesome gift. Forget all the other stuff. I can torque a dump truck's tires off with that sucker. You know, when you're 5'6", you need all the power you can get. So yeah, lots of familiar faces in the chat. Jed Thorne showed up. Brian Lee. Congratulations, Mike Berry. He just hit 10,000 subs, by the way.
Wow.
You guys
Way to go,
probably
Mike.
knew that.
World famous.
World famous. Oh, Tom Nolan's in the house. You know, sometimes you just have to deal with those Canadians, and so Tom's a hilarious guy.
He's a great guy too.
Yeah.
He is so friendly and so awesome and so
Well,
helpful.
Yeah, Tom's a big part of the beekeeping community because he's like at every darn. Have you ever seen like Grover in the old Sesame Street where Grover's doing the bit where he's like wearing all the hats and he's in different jobs, and this guy goes to the donut shop and it's Grover, and then he goes to get like his car worked on and Grover's working there. That's the way it feels like Tom Nolan is. It's like he's almost able to do 2 bee shows at one time, and it's crazy. He's everywhere. I think he's more in the U.S. than he is in Canada.
Maybe he's a twin. We just don't know it.
Yeah, I think the world would split open if that happened. But Steve Amos is here. Steve really helped us a ton at the expo and just filled in. That's some of these folks, you know, you don't know, because I met Steve at a North Carolina meeting. I spoke with Corey, and he's just like, hey, man, if you need any help, just let me know. I'd be happy to volunteer. And we had talked a little bit, and we had a lot of similarities in kind of how we live our lives and whatnot. And so I thought, well, he's kind of like me, so I mean, how crazy can he be? You know, let's give it a shot. And I thought, well, maybe he'd help out with like ticketing and a few odds and ends. And Steve ended up introducing speakers and helped us unload the muffins and all, just unload semis and stuff. So yeah, thank you. Speaking of which,
Steve reminds me of Mel Olson.
Mel Olson.
Mel Olson, yes, he does. Gentle Giant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him and I thought, wow, he's huge.
Well, there's a lot of big fellas there, and of course, big's kind of, you know, it's all about perspective, right? And so to me, you know, 6 foot might be big, but you know, Jake Osborne, Steve Amos, of course, Hank Yasik, who's taller than both of them, and you know, then there's Korhan, who wasn't helping out, but he was running the Apame booth, and I got a picture with Hank Yasik and Korhan. I think Hank is taller than Korhan by like an inch. And
wow.
They stuck me right in between the two of them, and they just had like do the long shot so they could make sure I was in the picture.
Oh my gosh.
Unreal.
So,
Yes, sir.
so one of the things that I like is the coffee and the muffins and stuff like that. And I want to say a huge thanks to Copper Canyon and to the muffin folks who handled all the muffins and got those distributed out there, because you know, Motherlode, Apis Biologics being another young company, and you know, Motherlode has a new owner, and then Global, they all went in and sponsored the muffins. And so it's really a big team effort, and we really try to put as much of all that energy as we can into just making it fun. It needs to be a positive atmosphere before it's a profitable atmosphere. And so that's how I look at it, and Laurel looks at it. And, you know, we need to be actually, anybody can say we're wanting to do this to make beekeeping better, or we're wanting to do this to help the next generation of beekeepers and leaders out, but we actually want to do what we say that we're doing. And so that's our primary focus, and anything that happens after that is fantastic. And you know, the Copper Canyon guys, his daughter was the one mostly running the coffee, and I think he said she was 22, and you know, I don't know. She's smaller than I am, but she was picking up those whole huge containers of coffee and throwing them around, and I'm like, don't mess with this girl. And that, and then of course Billy Joe was there as well, who some people think he even owns the whole Copper Canyon thing because he's there the whole darn time just sipping coffee and eating cookies and muffins. But he's a commercial beekeeper actually over by Gus Mitchell, and he just wants to be there and be a part of it too. And so there's just so many giving people that make all of this.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And there have been a lot of videos folks have put out, just a lot of really good stuff. Got a good content from, some of the videos are short, some are long. It's been interesting to see everybody's take on it. And so we also had the opportunity, Greg had this set up there to do some podcast type interviews. They were, reasonably short compared to some in the past. So, and so that was a lot of fun. And so we'll be looking forward to those coming out as well. But, we just enjoyed it, Kamon. We appreciate you, and I know everyone in the comments section here was excited to be there. And hopefully, for those who couldn't make it this year, maybe come next year. And it is just something to behold. It's just really impossible to capture it on a video. It's really impossible to experience unless you're actually there. You just can't do it. So we were talking, like the last day, I was talking to several people about how many millions of dollars changed hands at that conference, as far as just, first of all, millions of dollars of products were purchased, but also how much money was saved, by beekeepers and products that they were going to need this year. And a few people, anyone that complains about the price of the ticket, just think, man, if you just you don't have to buy a lot of stuff there to be able to save that much, the price of your ticket. So, it's almost like you could go, in a sense, almost free if you consider it from that perspective.
Well, and we really want to offer a fair value. I'm one of those guys, like I'll spend $1,000 on something. I won't even bat an eye if I know I'm going to get, if it's something I need, and I'm going to get $1,000 or more of value out of that product. And I feel very confident for that 165 you do quite well.
Oh yeah, wow.
You get to hang out with so many people that are awesome, smart people. The people are worth the 165. You can just sit around and talk and learn $165 worth of information.
Oh, yeah.
The speakers that we have are worth 165, and then the video recordings, maybe they're not worth 165, but they're worth a decent chunk out of it. And I know a lot of organizations who record things like that, and they'll charge $100. We're not going to charge that for those things. We don't need to. We're not like the Expo Center where we nickel and dime you to death.
No doubt. Wow.
So the coffee at a lot of these hotels and these Expo Centers, a lot of people don't realize if you play the game the way it's supposed to be played, that's a $60 a gallon expense for coffee. And it's
$60 a gallon?
$60 a gallon.
Oh, my.
So this is why when you go to these expos, typically, unless the person who's running them is super wealthy and is doing it for a major tax write-off because they're so wealthy they need a tax write-off, then that's why you go to you see these expos or Comic-Con or just any of these things, and it can be quite expensive. And we don't get grants for ours. We do have some sponsors, but we don't have like massive sponsors or anything crazy like that. And so, if we were doing the amount of coffee and paying $60 a gallon, if we played the game that way to have poorer quality coffee but the same quantity of it, that would probably be around $35,000 is what I calculated.
Wow.
Just in coffee. And it'd probably taste like dirt and water.
Yeah.
So we were able to do it much more affordably because we do several workarounds. Another big shout out to Copper Canyon because they donate a lot of their time and effort just to be a part of things. And then also, of course, Rossman does the biggest sponsorship that we have, which is $5,000. The biggest sponsorship that we have goes to coffee. I guess that tells you a lot about Americans, I suppose. So let's get our caffeine so we can make it through Jake Osborne's lecture. Well, hey, I saw those short comments, Jake. I saw every single one of them. And you too, Jed Thorne. I just said it, Chris. Chris is over there. He's like, make sure you mention Rossman as a sponsor. Give me a second, man. I just talk a lot. I'll get to it. Um, it's all good, but it takes people have no idea the amount of cool stuff that goes into this many months. And it's not just stuff we do, it's stuff that vendors are doing with each other. And there's just so many pieces here. It's a beautiful thing to witness. And it's the only thing that keeps me going and excited about it, because it is a logistical nightmare. We are getting better about handling it, but I never went to school for this kind of stuff. I'm not sure there is classes for these things, but we're just learning as we're going. So I appreciate so many good people being patient, but I expect us to be able to do and offer more and better next year, because why not? You're either going forwards or you're going backwards. So we're going to go forwards. And that doesn't mean just, hey, we're going to have more people. Maybe it's the same amount, but we just have more to offer. Oh, the big question. I was just waiting for that one. I don't know. So I actually kind of do know. Likely it'll be the same first weekend, which is now the second, third, and fourth, and I don't like that. And so that's why we haven't announced it yet, as we're looking into other options. And I'm just going to be very candid here. The next weekend's the ABF. So if I move it to the next weekend, yeah, it might be better for our crew, but it is going to tick a lot of people off. And it won't be something that we're personally going after them for. I mean, technically, there's nothing stopping us, but it just as a professional courtesy, we would prefer not to have to do that. And so we're wondering, that's awful close to New Year's, and can that be a problem? Maybe the day before. This is one of the things I was thinking about maybe adding. And Chris and Laurel are going to come in here and kill me shortly.
Uh-oh, I don't even say it. Oh, gosh.
Beekeeping New Year's party.
Oh, my gosh.
I said it. We don't have
Watch out for the shepherd's hook. They're going to pull him off the stage here.
too many Looney Tunes. Character.
Oh, no.
My kids are watching them just so they get well-rounded. So it's something that we're figuring out, but it'll be the first or second weekend of January. And I hope to have that ironed out within the next 7 days, and then we will announce that. But it's more than likely it's going to be on that first weekend. And we'll figure that one out as it goes. It eventually is going to reset, and it'll be like the 7th, 8th, and 9th, which will be great.
Mm-hmm.
But this year it also will be in Louisville, Kentucky. And there's a lot of reasons to like Louisville. There's a few not to. Nothing's perfect, and we are going to be actively looking for different facilities, not because we're just like, we've got to get out of there. But it's always good to have something in your back pocket. Things can happen, and maybe we find something a little bit better. They say everything's wonderful in Canada that time of the year, so you just never know.
Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
No.
Well, Kamon, one thing to think about is, with the ABF crowd and the Bee Expo crowd, if you could say that there was two separate crowds, there is, some crossover, but by and large, it seems like we've got two separate markets altogether. The ABF organization may be unhappy to hear that the Bee Expo is overlapping, but I really wonder how many folks who had the choice of going to something geared more towards a trade show and sideline education, if that market was even contemplating going to ABF. And I think the people would by and large be pretty open and honest with that. What's interesting to think about is over the last several years, your approach to conferences and trade shows and beekeeping not only is getting noticed by everybody, but all of the state conferences, local conferences are now kind of reshaping what that looks like. Where you used to have a doctor in thus and such would be the main keynote giving a presentation that sometimes was way over the heads of the folks who were looking for practical, actionable information. It has all changed, where the folks who are sharing their experience via YouTube or podcasts, that is what the beekeeping community is consuming. And they are excited to go and show up and be a part and support conferences where they can now see the YouTubers, the podcasters, the folks that they are, the content that they're actually consuming on a weekly or monthly basis. That is really exciting. And I don't think that that has necessarily been done like that before. You will see that now that it is starting to become, if there's a new norm with how these things are unfolding and unveiling, there are conferences all across the country now that are popping up that have taken notice, that are starting to headline YouTubers and podcasters as the keynotes, as the speakers, and the people are flocking and flooding to those conferences all across the country. So I think that is an amazing testament of what you had struck on and found years ago and started to put together has really caught fire across the country. Coming here up in just a couple weeks, the East Missouri Beekeepers Association workshop is headlining YouTubers. Nathan Coleman's one, I'm one, Mr. Ed's one. There's going to be great vendors there. What's cool is there's a lot of grassroots ones that are looking at opportunities to bring a piece of that to their neck of the woods, like Central Wisconsin. March 16th, Central Wisconsin is having a workshop, and Kamon's the keynote speaker. So Kamon's going clear up to the frozen north. According to this flyer that I have here, Kamon, you're the keynote speaker, March the 16th. And what's interesting is a lot of folks are taking notice to that type of approach. Ian Stepler, Randy Oliver. I'll even be there.
I like the fact
speaking.
that Ian Stepler's in small letters towards the right-hand corner.
Isn't
away
that
from
something?
Me. Yeah, I hope Ian's watching this. Watch out, Ian. You're next, man. All jokes aside, though, I just thought I was one of the speakers. I didn't realize I was the keynote with that, and it was surprising to me because now, especially looking at this list, I'm like, man, I really need to go back through my presentations and make sure I get those things ironed out.
You can't phone this one in. No, I don't think so. But it's a big deal, Kamon. A lot of folks see that. And more importantly, people are voting with their wallets, and they are traveling wherever they can to support that kind of education. And the conferences and the clubs and state conferences that are going about it that way are now becoming successful for the first time ever. And that's a big deal.
Well, there's a lot of opportunity out there in a lot of different ways in beekeeping, and it might not be the traditional way, but there is opportunities out there. And one of the reasons I said yes to that gig, and there's been so much stuff going on this year, and of course the conference and whatnot. I feel bad for a lot of these organizations because I've been like, yeah, get back with me right after the expo because I can't really give it my full attention. And so I'd forgotten I was the keynote. Kamon Reynolds, who's this Kamon guy? I deserved it. So I forgot I was the keynote speaker. I did remember, though, the reason that I signed up for that because, one, I have never been to Wisconsin. I wanted to go. And also wasn't too far away from Jed Thorne's place where he makes all the equipment. And for several of the models, I've tested them out. It helped, because, Jed does testing up there, but then I'll, like when I did the video on the extractor with Gus Mitchell, we ran about 120-something gallons through the extractor on its first day. And so, just making sure it's doing its job. The motor didn't even get warm. And
wow.
It was one of the biggest problems that we had was realizing when the motor was on because Gus was running like 3 box fans to hydrate and everything out. And then you'd have the other equipment going, so that motor's so quiet. If you have one box fan, you'll never hear the thing. It's just an amazing quiet motor. I didn't know they had that technology out there, and Jed's like, oh, yeah, they got stuff even more sophisticated than this now. And so that's really cool, seeing a young guy bring in some new technology into the extractor space. And I want to go up there partially because we're working on this wax dipping tank. And I picked that up at the conference, and it's got a really cool lid and whatnot. But, there's just a lot of tweaking that has to be done with all these products. And I think beekeepers are the ones that need to be the ones figuring it out. Sometimes I've seen in the past where manufacturers are testing it there. A beekeeper never uses it until it's being sold in mass, and then there's a lot of disappointed consumers because maybe it wasn't what they wanted. So ultimately, at the end of the day, a little free market capitalism and communicating with your customers goes a very long way, and it takes a lot of time. But the companies I know right now that are doing an amazing job at taking care of their customers and keeping tabs and making sure they're satisfied are kicking butt and taking a lot of names right now. And
No
you
doubt.
better hope that you can either figure out how to tap into making people happy, or hope that the government will step in and take away that free market capitalism, because that's the only chance you've got.
Yeah, there are some tremendous companies, and I hesitate to even mention them because there's so many. We've got, of course, Greg on here, Brian, we got Rob, we got the Simple Comb people, we got, we got Terry at Guardian. We got Hilco, so many different companies. I'm not leaving anybody out on purpose, but I did want to take just a minute and maybe take a little break here from the conversation, and I wanted to do a giveaway. But before I do that, I'd like to recognize a few folks here. We really appreciate Ed, for the super chat. We appreciate that, man. Dave, right here, and Matt Kirtland. I got to know Matt and Sylvia back at a couple of years ago at the conference, and man, they're just awesome people over in Houston. Appreciate Lynn Warren. Lynn Warren is actually my mentee with Hives for Heroes. We haven't had a chance to dive into some hives yet, but hopefully the weather will cooperate pretty soon and we'll be able to do that. So I just wanted to recognize a few folks here. And I wanted to do speaking of new products at the Expo this year, one of the products that was there, and Dominican Beekeeper was asking about this earlier, I think that's what he was asking about, was a product called Simple Comb. Came in, I'm sure you saw the booth there. It's really kind of a neat little setup here. You basically, in a 10 frame box, you can put, I think it's 80 of these little cartridges in a 10 frame box. And the bees, let's see, it says the net weight on these is about 6.6 ounces. I'm sure it varies just a tiny bit here or there, but it's really just a cool item. And what you do, we're going to do a giveaway on this, by the way. We're about to give away one of these kits, and I'll explain it here in a minute. But
I ain't giving this away.
I happen to have, you can see right here, happen to have the kit that I got at the Expo right here from, I think it was Mick and Madison. Mick is the one that designed the product. Madison, I believe, is his daughter, and she's kind of in charge of marketing. And they have a kit where they send the actual frames. They send enough frames and enough of the cartridges to fill up a super, I believe. And it is called the Simple Comb Success Kit. And I called Mick before we got on here, and he was gracious enough to offer to give one of these away. So, Brian, could we throw something in there for people to start putting in a hashtag of some kind? I don't know if we want to put Simple Comb. It's kind of a unique spelling. That's fine. We can just go with that. Be sure you spell it right, though. It's SIMPLKOMB. And so if you're interested in one of these kits, just like what I have, Mick will send that to you. We'll go ahead and do it. We'll spin the wheel here in a little bit. I think you guys would enjoy giving that a try. Now, I tried it last year, and I got it in the colonies a little bit too late, and it was just a bad honey year for us here. It just didn't work well for me, just because I didn't have it on a really strong colony at the right time of the year. I didn't find out about the product till it was almost too late. But the key, I think, to having success, and they'll tell you this as well at Simple Comb, is to make sure you have a good, strong colony. Make sure you're on a really good flow, and you got to have bees that are wanting to make some honey. And I think that what they do is they may even, and you can contact the people there and talk to them about it. I may have them on a live stream on it. We may have, I don't know. I may see if I can get a hold of them and get them on in the future. But you got to make sure you get it on a good, strong colony during a really good honey flow. Bees that are motivated to make honey. And one thing that may work is to have them working a super. Take that super off. It's got to be above a clean excluder, and then put this on top, and don't put any honey boxes on the top of there. And they'll fill it up according to the Simple Comb folks. But you can see it works. I got this. They let me have this at the conference, and you can see it does work. And it's kind of a cool little thing. And the way it works is you put the. Let me see if I can just pull these things apart. I don't want to mess any of them up. But you just fold these things. You fold them back. You just fold them back on each other like this. And there's 4 of them like this. And 2 of these inserts fit into each frame. So you see, that's 4 cartridges. They're back to back, and you push them against each other inside the box. And so you can end up getting, like I said, 80 of these out of a colony if they fill it up really nicely. If you sell them for what do you think, guys? Maybe $8 or $10 a piece. I don't know what the price would be, but that could be a pretty profitable thing.
Oh yeah.
So how many entries we got here, Brian?
132.
Wow, that's awesome. And so let's give it another minute or two. Maybe go ahead and we can spin it. We can go ahead and spin it here, I guess. And what you're going to need to do, whoever wins this, you need to be sure that you send me the information. You can email it to me. And Brian, we'll put that email up here in a little bit. So let's do it.
Come on, Kamon Reynolds.
Chad Fay.
Congrats, Chad.
All right, Chad, to get a hold of me, this is my email address. It's brucejenny@gmail.com, and you spell it BRUCEJENNE@gmail.com. And be sure you email me, and I will get the folks from Simple Comb. I need to have your contact information, maybe like an email address, and so they can get a hold of you and get that taken care of. Maybe email address and phone number so they can get a hold of you, and they will send that out to you directly from their company.
You know, it'd be a great giveaway to go along with those would be a Cowan 60, right, Kamon?
Yeah, Kamon was talking about that earlier. He was going to donate one. The conference was so successful, he was thinking about donating one of those to the viewer tonight.
Absolutely, that's right. Why don't we do that right now?
Brian, hit the wheel.
Sure. We would have thousands of people on here if we were giving
Hashtag Cowan.
Or
the trailer, the little trailer that was cute. That'd be fine too. Either way,
somebody asked about that trailer. I think Brian Lee asked about that. I believe Michigan State purchased that trailer, did they not? I think that was purchased.
Yes. So they sold 2 28 frame lines. They sold a Silver Queen. It was a little Silver Queen on a stand with like a tray underneath it set up, which was it's more old school, like the Gus Mitchell with the uncapper with the tank underneath. And they sold that, and they sold the trailer as well, and maybe 1 or 2 things. They donated that cart, and that sponsored like 5 or 5.5 kids, 6 kids, something like that. I'll have to double check, but that really helped get a lot more kids in for next year.
Wow.
So yeah, that was kind of. I know I'm hijacking, but I promise I'll let you have it in just 1 second. You mentioned the ABF, and that's some of the things that we hear the most. Is this is a conference for. And I quote from a large commercial beekeeper, it's a flea market for hobbyists. I hope they keep thinking that for a long time. I love it. Every time I walk past some of those booths, I'm like, yeah, this ain't no. It's great for hobbyists too, but we had a couple people surprise me that I didn't think were, because I don't know all the commercial beekeepers. And I talked to a guy, and it's like, yeah, we run like 17,000 hives over down in Texas. I'm like, what? And it wasn't Blake Shook either. And then Blake pointed somebody else out that had like almost 30 that was there. I had no clue. But you look at him, and it's kind of like the way you look at Bob Binney. He doesn't go up and beat his chest that he's better beekeepers than all of us on this group put together. That includes Ian. And so this expo is growing, but I think that whether it's commercial stuff like Cowan or whether it's a new product like the Queen Right dial that may not be a commercial product, maybe. I know one guy that was raising queens was talking about being interested in it. So you just never know. Let the people tell you, and that's what the Bee Expo is about. Show up and then do what you want.
That's
you
right.
want to anyways.
Yeah,
well,
so
Kamon,
cool.
one of the beautiful things to think about is as the expo crowd grows, you've presented a fertile learning opportunity for folks as they grow. The future commercial beekeepers could be right there in that room and have been a part of this growth process all along the way. I think if mark my words, in the next 5 years, 10 years, what you're going to see is beekeepers mature, and the expo is going to be a part of their learning process. This is going to be a part of who they are as they become a commercial beekeeper. And what we may very well look at is the Bee Expo also matures to where the crowd matures, the opportunities mature, you may very well have commercial beekeepers that have grown into that scale because of all these opportunities. Where that's beautiful is now you have an opportunity to reach a commercial market with this platform. And I think what you've done is you've decentralized the organization itself. And I think that's going to be a big thing moving forward.
Thanks, Bruce. I'm sorry to hijack you like that, but that is our goal. Commercial guys are an important part of our industry, just as new beekeepers are, as the regeneration of our industry needs to continue. But when someone asks me, hey, what good are the commercial guys for? If you like having the strongest food system in the world, then you like commercial beekeepers. And if you like your fruits and vegetables not costing you triple what they are now, then you like commercial beekeepers. So, Bruce, are you giving away anything else? Giving away a signed Bob Benny hat or something cool?
I do have something cool, but I don't have a Bob Benny hat to give away. I wish I did. That would be really cool.
What else are we doing?
No, I did want to. One thing I wanted to. We're going to do a Guardian Bee jacket, but we're going to do that. Don't type anything in yet because that's going to be a little ways further in there. I need to explain what's going on with that. But anyway, so Kamon, Brian, I wanted to ask you a question. Talking about what we've talked about a little bit already with the opportunity for both established businesses and new businesses to be successful. Talk a little bit about some of the opportunities that you experienced at the expo that would not have been possible without the expo with your Guardian, or not with
just
your Guardian.
Remember, I'm on here watching, Brian, so make it good. Make it real good.
No, Jason and I, prior to going, Queen Right Dial, it's brand new. We had it at the conference the year before, but we took what we learned at that conference and then developed the dual dials. We developed, this mating dial that, I'm going to show that right there because that's somebody's color. And I'm doing a teaser right there by doing that. And in my head, I wanted to go to the conference and just get the name of the Queen Right Dial out there. And you have an event where there were literally thousands of people, companies from all over, the world. And if we could just get the name out there and get some exposure, in my head, I'm thinking that is win-win, just to have, we're in a beekeeping industry where we had the opportunity to, be involved in a trade show with all these other monster companies. And, we met our goals of what we wanted. I'll just say that, had it not been for the conference, that blue ribbon was just so huge. Jason and I have been literally, we've been on the phone. I don't even know how many hours, just, dialing in things and, just talking to people. And it's really opened up the door that, we probably will down the road see, these in, catalogs, there's people going to be carrying them. And it's just, for a startup like us, it's truly amazing to see the community welcome, the product that Jason and I have invested. My gosh, I can't even count the number of hours that we have invested in it. But, for an event to take place like that, and you have newbies like us go in there and walk out of there with the success that we did, it's just, I can't say thank you enough. So it truly is just a remarkable event. And those out there, I see in chat, people, they question about this and that about the conference. And, we've already discussed the 165 price, but like you said, I mean, you get that back very quick. It's just like that. You get that back. So, if anybody questions going to an expo like this, I say don't even second guess it, because Jason and I would not have the opportunities, that we have now had it not been for the expo. So yeah, it's really been amazing. It has.
That was one of the problems that we observed in the past. Is I remember before really YouTube became popular and a few other things like YouTube, where there'd be a good product that would get released and it would not get anywhere because maybe it was released in Virginia and the only way to get it out was to go visit places yourself, or you had to just let word of mouth do its thing. And word of mouth will always be important. It's never going anywhere. It's critical for any product. But when you've invested tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars into products, you kind of need to recoup that investment. And that's what we've really enjoyed being a part of, is seeing where these new products can quickly get out there and do what they need to do to get money back in the bank so that they can continue to innovate and produce and make them available. So the opportunities are out there. Not everybody takes advantage of them. There's still a lot of people rejecting the new way of doing things. And hey, I like hive tools and smokers and old-fashioned stuff as much as anybody. And technology isn't my thing, but welcome to 2024. Like it or not, it is here. So you've got
Right.
to learn how to at least use it in some capacity. And there's several questions over there, and there's so many good ones. There's 335 people watching, and so give this video a like. I never say that for my channel because I always think it sounds kind of
I feel
weird
the
to
same
ask
way.
for it. Doesn't it feel weird? Like, please subscribe. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. But this isn't my channel. I can do shameless stuff like this. And like the video,
appreciate it.
guys.
Hey, yeah, I know. As far as I've just totally gotten behind on all the questions, and if if you've got a question, I think we can kind of maybe shift into a little bit of a question Q&A mode here a little bit, Kamon. If anybody's got any questions for you, put them in all caps, please, if you could. That way we'll be able to see them better. Speaking of hive tools, though, you mentioned how hive tools are great. I happened to get this thing. I don't know if you saw those there at the conference, Kamon. Brian, you got one, didn't you?
Yeah,
It's
Chris
a forged.
made those.
What company was that? I can't remember the name of the company.
I think his last name is Kinzer.
Yeah, I think
Chris
that's right.
Kinzer Hives or something like
But
that.
man, this thing, I've been out to the bees twice. I keep forgetting to take it, but this thing is a really neat. I just want to get out there and play with it. It seems like it's so heavy duty and durable, and he's got it designed so everything is super efficient. So I'm going to give it a try. It'll be in some of my videos coming up.
He's got an edge on mine
There's another one.
that I could probably shave with this thing.
Yeah, he talked to us. He was talking to some people. Was he
Gonna look
talking to
like
you,
me,
Brian, or maybe Brian
Yeah.
Lee? He was talking to Brian Lee, I think, about how he could dull it for you if he wanted to because they're so
Yeah.
sharp. He said he could shave with it, and it is very, very sharp. So
There's
it's pretty neat.
some beekeepers like their hive tools dull, and some of the guys that I know, it's like if that thing you can't almost shave with, they can get quite sharp. My problem is I cut myself with them, and so I usually like to have mine not too terribly sharp. But yeah, that was another smaller company, and I think he only offers a few different things, but he did quite well from what I gathered. Sold
Yeah,
a
he was
bunch
selling
of
like
those.
crazy.
Yeah, sold those hive tools, and he also had one of those frame and box cracking units where you can, Chris Kinzer. But it's the name of the business is KUENSER, or it's something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's on the Bee Expo website. Go visit
yeah.
it, everybody. Another shameless plug. So he has this device. Of course, you push your medium frames down on it, and it pushes the frames up so you can easily just extract them and all that kind of stuff. And I think that if he hasn't already, it needs to be called the Kraken. And
The Kraken.
yes, I think it needs to be called the Kraken.
I love it.
So
I love
rapid fire questions. There was Brian Lee just supported you guys, $50
Oh yes, thank you, Brian.
donation.
That's awesome. Brian is Craig. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Brian. He's become a close friend of mine. I'm not sure if you saw the story with the hats, if you were involved with that at all, but Brian Coper's got his hat on right now. Mine's right here somewhere, but he made us each a hat, and then he made a hat for Mike Berry too. That was kind of funny. It was a fun part of the conference.
A ripple
But
effect. Thank you. I tend to agree with you. Ripple effects. Thanks for supporting these guys.
I would like to also I say thanks, Greg, for the super chat. I've got several. If I've skipped you guys, if I forget to mention it, please forgive me. But Straight Creek Apiary, Brian sent me a super chat as well for and Steve Amos, great supporter of the stream team. Redfish, I met Redfish. He is from right here in Alabama. Of course, Brian, thank you so much, Brian Lee, and SDWT. Do you know what that stands for, Cayman?
I'm fixing to find out, I think.
Oh man.
We had Brian, tell him the story. I'm not sure if I can tell it right. Also, thanks Ripple Effect for $5. Go ahead, Brian.
We had somebody in chat, and their name was Silver Diamond White Trash.
Oh gosh.
And they said something, that I was going to block them, and I clicked on Mike Berry's name by accident and blocked Mike Berry.
Oh no.
So Mike took, the blame for Silver Diamond White Trash, and he now
They might be from the same area. You never know.
and right there he says there's only one, I suppose. But
yeah, it's pretty funny.
So Mike, when Brian did all the hats, he did one with a logo for Mike that is SDWT.
Yeah, he made it's a really cool design. It's got a little bee in the diamond shape, and then the SW.
Awesome.
underneath.
So, I'm going to segue just a hair, because that happened to me when I was a young guy. And so when you're homeschooled, you don't have a lot of friends, right? You may have some, and I'm a pretty extroverted guy. The problem is all of the stuff that I was into as a teenager was bees and farming and stuff like that. So not a whole lot of teenagers were really into that. My first time going somewhere with a bunch of young people without my parents or my brothers being there was a homeschool get-together in Kentucky, in Baghdad, Kentucky. And it was August. I mean, you know what August is like. It was terrible. But, of course, at 18 years old or however I was right around that point, you don't care. You can take anything. And so I get there, and one of my buddies was going too, and he's like, Cayman, we need to do some gags, because when you go to these things and it's kind of like camping, and all the guys are on one side, girls on the other side, you got to do something that's just kind of what you see in all the movies, right? I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense, and this might be only a shot. We're 18. So all the pranks, I got fart bombs, we got Vaseline for the doorknobs. We had zip ties to zip tie people's bags together, and it all just went wrong. And the reason it went so wrong is everyone thought it was me, because I'm a very guilty-looking person. Apparently, it's more obvious by the day. And so at this point, the only gag I ever did was I took a fart bomb, because I didn't want to mess anything up. I threw it in a trash can, and I wanted people to know it was me, because I don't care. And it went off in the guy's dorm, and half the guys thought it was the best thing ever, and the other half went and told on me. Mama's boys. So, anyhow, I get in trouble for that. It's a harmless fart bomb. Open the window. You're fine. And what I didn't realize is I got a lot of hate from that. It was an unprecedented amount of hate for just a fart bomb that was really dissipated within 15 minutes. And now after putting one of these events on, I kind of understand a little bit of the angst towards me. However, somebody had snuck into the girls' dorm. It was one of the girls on the team. I didn't realize she was involved. And she put shrink wrap over all the girls' toilets. Yes. And then zip-tied bags. And she didn't know whose bags she was zip-tying. They were all the people who ran the event. All their bags are like triple, double zip tied, and these were like the industrial grade zip ties. We didn't go cheap. There was toothpaste pranks. There was all kinds of stuff, and she was the VIP. She was the one that got it done. But they thought for years afterwards that I was the one that did all of these things. They thought I was just one person. They nearly kicked me out for it, and I'm just like, it's a fart bomb. You're totally overreacting. And
wow.
So they had. Even at 18, my first time at any big event like that, they're getting on stage naming names, and it's like me. And, don't be like that guy. And I've been infamous ever since, and I realized almost 5 years later what was going on because I had all these friends with, Brian SOI. And I just kept asking them. They said, we can't tell you, we can't tell you. Well, eventually one of them cracked. The Society of the Informed. And they realized that I was the one that took the fall for this, and I didn't do it, but there was only a handful of people that knew, and I wasn't one of them. So anyways, that was a really weird story right there, but it's funny how these things can kind of take on a life of their own, and now it's just a really funny story. So how about we rattle off some questions like, are you going to get Michael Palmer to the expo, Kamon?
Okay. Well, are you going to get Michael Palmer to the expo?
I begged and pleaded. I've asked him multiple times. I'm hoping to. I really want to have Michael Palmer there. If Michael, sometimes he listens in on these things, I'm begging you, man. I will go up there and I will shovel the snow out of your driveway to get you to come down here if that's what it takes. And even on like that first cleansing flight where your fields look like mustard from all the bee stuff, I will deal with that with you as well. Whatever it takes, Michael, we want you at the Bee Expo. Name your price. There you go. So at this point, Jonathan, I don't know, but now it's all in Michael Palmer's court. Yeah,
Michael's got some power on you there. He could do pretty good. A couple of questions for back earlier in the. I know I've missed a lot of questions, but here's one, and I'm not sure. These are like kind of little. This first one is kind of a logistics thing, Kamon. I'm not sure if you can do this, but I'll throw it up here. Somebody, I guess they couldn't make it, but wonder if they could get some of the yellow bags. Is there any way they could do that, or is that going to be too much to try and handle?
It's possible. Please email us at Kamon's. So it's just my name with an S on the end of it, and then BEES. KamonsBees@gmail.com. Okay. And that would be the best way so we can have that information, and we'll let you know. I think we have some of that left over, and we can do those kinds of things sometimes. So
all right.
We can't do hundreds of them, but maybe one or two.
Stan Gore says, how is the Thorn 8-gallon wax melter tutorial video coming along?
Jed Thorne leaked that one, didn't he? It's getting there. There's a lot of videos that I'm backlogged on. So as far as the production of the video goes, the machine worked awesome. It worked just like the 25-gallon model, just a little bit smaller. And there's a post, of course, going through the groups of a lady who purchased one at the expo and has already processed a ton of wax. It's a really good machine, and I'm proud to say that I helped design it just a little bit. Jed did all the hard stuff, but I ran my mouth and said, "Do this," and So
that sounds like a good size for anywhere from a hobbyist even up to a sideliner. Those bigger ones. I haven't historically had a ton of wax, but I do have some wax. And so, it sounds like about the perfect size for what I would need. So that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And this is a beekeeping. Well, actually, let's do this one first. The swarm clip, I think they're probably talking about possibly the little, maybe so. Is that the one where you hook the frame to it up on the top of a pole?
Mm-hmm. So that company is Bee-Catch, and their company is on the website. You can actually click and go straight to their website with their offerings. And I thought that was a pretty nifty product, and I kind of wondered why I hadn't seen anything like that,
Yeah, I got one of those, and I'm going to maybe give it a try if I have a high swarm this year. And then Michael West, this is more of a straight-up beekeeping question. What wood should I use for my 4-way pallet bottom boards and migratory covers?
Am I going to field all the questions? I know what I would say to that, but I didn't know if I was supposed to.
Well, why don't you go ahead, and then if you got an idea on that, or I'll be glad to jump in too.
We know my answer to that.
Yes. So there's a lot of different materials that you can use for that. I have used local cedar 3/4 inch for the runners, and use pine for the rest of it with some. There's a couple different woods that you can use. I like to use not the Advantech. I've tried that, and it will work, but it makes a really heavy pallet. And the Advantech of today is not the Advantech that we had several years ago. I don't know what they've done to it, but it hasn't been an improvement. There is the HDO that Bob uses. It's expensive and it's a little heavy, but I think it could survive a warhead landing nearby. And if Bob Benny says it'll work, it works. And I have some. It's old concrete form boards, but then there's what's that other product? It's not the Advantech. It's the other type of plywood I get at Lowe's, and I make my lids out of it, and it's excellent. But it depends on if you're wax dipping it or not. If you're not going to be able to wax dip, then I suggest that anything that's not touching the bees, just use pressure treated lumber for it. So like the 2x4s, the runners on the bottom can be pressure treated. And then what the bees actually touch is just regular pine. But what would you use, Greg?
Whatever you use, I would encourage you to be consistent with it. I would go off of a pattern, something that's proven to get on and off of trucks is the big thing. I worry more about the construction than necessarily the materials themselves. For a lot of folks, the time frame that you probably need out of a pallet is probably going to it's going to last a lot longer than the material. There's a huge difference between pressure treated and ground rated for contact. So I'd make sure if you're going to use, you can get by with 5/4 board for pressure treated, but just know that a lot of that's not ground rated. So it's not going to last quite as long, but I mean, you're going to get somewhere in that, probably 4 to 6 year time frame out of it. I like if you can source them. HDO is beautiful. You're not going to go wrong with it. It's nearly indestructible. However, it's very heavy. It's hard to get. It is expensive, but if you're looking to build something right and build it once, that would work well. But the main thing is, I would seek out the wisdom from somebody in your neck of the woods who may be dealing with your type of soils and also insects. A lot of commercial guys are going to be dipping their pallets in copper nap, things of that nature for insect repellency. Some go to the aggravation of wax dipping, and some just literally throw together whatever they can source, and they pay more attention to the construction. So it's all uniform, sitting at the same height, same dimension. So when you load the truck, you can strap it down and not have all these different height variations, width variations. So I think uniformity is the biggest thing to think about.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something that's real important, Greg. If you're going to be doing migratory beekeeping, you need to weight as a consideration as well, because, those trucks going across the country, they get pretty heavy when you put 400 or 500 beehives on there. And then on the way back from the pollination from almonds, if they had a good year, they're going to be even heavier. So that could be an issue with the trucking coming across the country. So that's another thing to think about. But great question.
Got to say a big thank you to Fry Family Farms, who do the Simplecom. Thanks for coming to the Bee Expo, and obviously thanks for supporting Bruce and the Stream team with all that they're doing. What a wonderful new product to the market, and it's just one of those things that I wouldn't have thought of. Of course, I have one right here, and I'm going to try it out this season. But you look at some things, and you're just like, well.
I mean, who knew?
There's really nothing that can be done in that sector of the business. I guess what we have is what we have. Well,
yeah.
Think again. Here we are.
Mm-hmm. And Mick, I think he just kind of came up with this idea recently, and I think he just produced this last spring, and so it's a brand new product. And also like to thank Ripple Effect for the super chat there. I think it is definitely improving the beekeeping industry. I'm sure big companies don't like it, he says. Brian, thanks so much for the super chat there. Also, Scott at Twin Creek Bees, the Kraken.
Yeah.
We got Queen Right Dial, Brian or Jason. Thanks, guys. And then, of course, Mick at Fry Family Farms. Appreciate it. So thanks so much, guys. I'd like to go ahead and do another giveaway here if people would like to do that. Terry Chapman has become a pretty good friend of mine. I believe his products are really good. He sells, if you're not familiar with Guardian Bee Apparel, they sell beekeeping protective gear. And I like their products. I've worn his pullover jacket now, ventilated jacket for the last 2 or 3 years. I think I've ordered 2 or 3 of them, and I just wear the heck out of them until they're, basically falling apart, and they're durable. They do a good job. They have a zipper around the veil that you can unzip so you can get a drink if you need to or whatever, and I have to take the whole jacket off. But they also have a standard beekeeping jacket and also a bee suit and gloves. They sell all kinds of different protective gear for beekeeping. So Terry has graciously offered to donate. There will be a code I'll send whoever wins this, a code that can get you into the website to order $229 worth of product. $229 is enough for a suit, but you don't have to get a suit. If you just want to get, whatever combination of up to $229, that the code is good for that. And then I guess if you get something extra, you'll have to pay a little bit for it. But the code, the discount, or the code is basically for $229. This is $229 coupon, so to speak. So Brian, why don't you pop in a code, so hashtag there, and we'll let people enter for that Guardian Bee Apparel coupon there.
If Terry's listening tonight, I don't know. Terry, let's see.
Terry was on earlier. I think he was on earlier. I'm not sure if he still is or not. But
Terry, yeah. There's a Burns Sasquatch specification jacket. So I don't know if that's when that's gonna be available or not yet. But Terry, if you're on here, I'll let you be the one to announce that.
He's still in the chat. When I typed in at Terry, he still shows. Man, look at that lit up. If anybody asks a question right now.
Yeah, if you ask a question, you'll have to ask again after we're done with the giveaway. So while this is going on, while people are throwing in the code hashtag Guardian, Greg, I wanted you to take a moment and maybe talk about, let Kamon know kind of what type of an effect the expo has had on your business and how it's helped you out with your deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the beautiful things about the expo and how conferences, I would say what the standard is now for those kind of conferences, is that it really facilitates the little guy it helps encourage them to put the work in and make things happen, because there is a crowd and a market there ready to support it, and folks vote with their wallet. A lot of things that we've done for many years now, bucket feeders, plugs, we've started 5, 6, 7 years ago, wax zipping equipment now for several years. We keep adding new lines and offerings to the farm, and it's beautiful to have this community of folks to be right here alongside with us and to grow. This year was a big year for us at the Bee Expo. We're going to have to formally put in a request for Kamon for next year to what in the world are we going to do as far as space goes next year, because every single year it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's a lot of these things are hard to foresee. What'd you say?
Just kick Rob out of that.
Just have to kick Rob out. Yeah. That's one of the most rewarding things is being able to collaborate with other producers and grow at the same time, and it was a lot of fun to be able to collaborate within a booth space where we had the stream team and the Nature's Image podcast studio right up front, and then have the Larabis and Nature's Image kind of a interactive booth kind of all together. It still wasn't enough room, and then it's like it keeps growing at such a rate, it's hard to gauge what in the world do we do next. There's a lot of opportunities that we want to do things better for next year, but this community, both online and local, the YouTube channel, the podcast, things are growing because the ground is fertile, and there are the people that are hungry for the information. There's people hungry for the products. There are people who are hungry for, they want to support small, local, family-owned business like ourselves. They want a product that's going to work good for them. They want somebody who can speak to it. They want the customer service, and that's where there's opportunity for the small guy like us. So when we are able to launch something like EnduraHive wax-dipped line of beekeeping equipment, there's the folks that are ready and waiting and wanting and hungry for whatever the next thing is. So having this type of an environment to take the risk, for a lot of folks and maybe they get it, maybe they don't, and this is not a pat on my back or any of the small guys' back, but a lot of folks have no idea what it actually takes to be able to put together a product, or put together a line of product, or to come and show with a truckload of equipment, or facilitate all those kind of orders and keep everybody happy. not a lot of folks are willing to take that kind of financial and physical risk, not to mention the type of time that it takes for a small family business to do that. So for us, it's an honor to be a part of this kind of community where we do want to invest. We do want to go all in to provide that kind of an experience, that kind of a product for folks. So that's where the Bee Expo shines, and this kind of a conference shines, is because the small guy like us, we want to invest in it. And when you have small guys who want to invest in that kind of an environment, that is literally, when we talk about being the change that we want to see in this world, that's what it is. The small guy steps up, does the best that he can. He provides, and that provides opportunities, and the fertile ground just gets richer and richer and richer.
Absolutely.
We love it, and sounds like somebody's fixing to win a bee suit or jacket or something along those lines.
Yeah, how many we got in there, Ryan?
There is 180.
Wow. Terry just texted me. He said, I'm on here. He said fast chat. I guess the chat's going fast.
Yeah.
So just got a few more seconds to go ahead and throw it in there. Hashtag Guardian. We're just about there. We're at 200 now. Where are we at? I can't see it.
181.
181. All right.
Yeah. Good
We're
old
close to
Randy
200.
Randy was testing my old eyes in the chat, and I caught it. So
Randy, Dirt Rooster.
Mm-hmm. He's testing me. See, 184 now.
Well, man, why don't we roll with it? Let's see what we got.
Sure, 185. We're going. We're going.
I was
redfish.
If it was gonna be Jason Crook, I'd have been like, he's
This thing's rigged.
Yeah, the Crooks run off with it again.
Redfish, roll tide, Redfish. There he goes, an Alabama guy. So it's good to have you in here, bud, and we appreciate it. And we'll,
Of course, he's.
I'll go ahead and email me, or I can probably just message you or something. But just go ahead and email me or message me on Facebook or whatever, and I will send you the code that you can utilize when you place your order with Guardian Bee Apparel. It's good for you through the end of 2024. The code that I send you will be.
The Redfish, I have the code ahead of time. It's hashtag give it to Brian. So, hashtag give it to Brian. Yep.
Awesome. Well, I just Kamon, we appreciate having you on here. Were there any more questions that have popped up? I have one question. Gary Stewart asked how he can get you to come speak at their event. Kamon, he probably should just email you if that's something that he's interested in, right? I don't think that's probably kind of tough to get that taken care of, but
yeah, that's kamonsbees@gmail.com. And everyone, you're just, I mean this in the best way possible. Please be patient with us. I have family, I have friends who are disappointed at how slow I am at communicating with them. We are so busy. Just because the conference is over doesn't mean that we're not busy or in demand. It's very flattering. But, Randy McCaffrey texts me and calls me, and Mr. Ed does. And then, I'm on here with you, and I've got a few more things this month. I've got 4 things planned for next month already, and that's too many. And I just turned down one in Calgary for next month that someone sprung on me. And so I want to get back with everybody fast. That's the way I typically do things, but it's just Laurel and I. We homeschool our kids. We try to grow a little bit of our own food. We have our own, stuff that we got going on, and so I'm not always super fast at getting back. So the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you don't hear
you
from
shouldn't
me,
have said that.
I know, but it's literally how it works.
Oh, no.
You've got to the tenacious one's the one I finally oh gosh, I've got to get back to these.
Kamon, you just got 300 emails in the last 5 minutes.
Gosh.
Yeah, you opened up your can of worms there.
I know. So, just email me that way. And any of my friends, or several of them in here, Randy Souther that helped us run the conference, and many others. And please, whenever you text me, I love you guys. But it gets buried so fast, and usually if I don't get to it within 2 days, it disappears. Of course, I blame you, Randy. You're a big target. It's easy to just go right for that, and I know you can take it. And I also know that I can run faster than you can, and God gives us the gifts that we need in the right circumstance. And in that circumstance, I need to be able to run real fast if I take Randy off. Um, Anyhow, all jokes aside, yeah, I'll look into it. I'm actually trying to cut back on those this year as well. I'm trying not to speak as many times. It's taking too much time away from our family and household. And thanks, Terry, for being part of the Bee Expo this year. They had a big booth, and it's always cool to see these companies from year to year as they innovate more and expand, and like you said, the collaboration between the companies. One of the things I was really excited that grew this year was the honey show. We had a little under 1,200 entries, which is massive, and I don't think many people realize how big that is for what's going currently in the United States. I want anyone who did that to bring more next year, and I also would like you to encourage other people to get involved. This is something that we've kind of let go to the wayside. If you go into farming, if you show even goats and sheep, they're not as important as honeybees. The Bible talks about them a bunch, but that doesn't mean they're more important. It doesn't talk about them in a positive way either. So, bees are more important than goats and sheep. Bring stuff for the honey show. I want to set a record. Right now, I think the biggest in the world is about 2,400 entries. Within the next 2 expos, our goal is to break that record and to be the biggest in the world. And not because it's all about that, but why not? We got to have goals. And I remember when I was young, my goal was to have a 33 frame extractor. And one day I did have one of those. And now I have a 60. So it's always good to have some goals, and there's a lot of questions I know that people have asked, but I'm a talker, and I'm sorry, guys.
No, that's why we brought you on here. A couple of quick questions came in, and then we'll start to maybe wrap it up here. I did want to say, I think we've got another, let's see. I'm having a hard time with the technology here, but Utah Bee Man, this is Glade Sessions from, I believe it's Roosevelt, Utah. He says, Greg, do you have or have you done an online monthly bee meeting? Have you ever done that, or you just pretty much do the learning yard?
I don't know if he's asking if we do something specifically branded Nature's Image, or if we do Zoom for monthly club meetings. We do Zoom monthly club meetings for clubs across the country. Here locally, we're focused on the hands-on education for our learning yard folks who buy nukes or packages. They get for free hands-on learning every other Saturday here at the learning yard. It's also free for military veterans. Other than that, in our membership perks on our YouTube channel, thanks for all the folks who are members there. We're going to start putting a lot more videos, especially as the season rolls out, just for members only. So if you're looking for that kind of approach, tune into the members only. If you're looking to have us speak Zoom at a club meeting where you're at, you can go to our website, nature'simagefarm.com, hit the contact us, shoot us a message, and we'll see what the schedule looks like.
Okay, another question here, and this is more specific on a product. Based on the conversation I had at the conference, the Keeper's Hive is interesting. Any thoughts? Where's the Keeper's Hive? Is that the...
So the Keeper's Hive is a system that, it looks like almost a combination of a Michael Palmer dealio.
Okay, yeah.
And I didn't get to talk to them very much, and it's one of those things where I'm sure that it works. There's a lot of different ways you can keep bees, but I didn't get a chance to fool with it while I was there. There's a lot of stuff I missed. And so I really don't have a lot of opinion on that, to be honest. I have to give it a really good look first.
Is that the one with the 2 chambers, like with the 2 nukes side by side, and then you build it? Yeah, I looked at that. I was actually going to buy one for my wife. Thought that was pretty cool. We went and talked to him. I was going to buy one, but I wanted to wait till the end. When I go to these conferences, I'm just enjoying my time there, and I want for other people, if a company has limited products there, if it's something I'm kind of interested in, I want to give everybody else a chance to purchase that. And I'll go the last day, and if they still have one, I'll buy one. But they had just sold the last one when I went to buy one. So It looked pretty neat to me, but it looks like a pretty cool system, and I may give it a try next year. I may plan on getting one early, so I'll make sure I come home with one next year.
Yeah. Jason hit the nail on the head right there, because they went through a demo with me when I was up there, and how they have it set up is your frames do not go down into the box. They rest on the top, so
I
you
think
can
it's something
slide
different.
the frames forward. So without even having to touch your supers that are stacked up on it, you can slide your frames out and lift them up.
Okay.
So it's
I was
I
thinking
would think
something different. I was thinking something
yeah,
different.
I would think, like, even for the accessible beekeeping crowd, that would be very handy, just because you're not having to lift boxes.
We've got a. Go ahead, Kamon.
Oh, sorry. I'm just reading through the comments. There's so many funny ones. I hate that I can't get to all of them. There's so many cool people in the crowd. People I recognize on some of my chats from 3.5, 4 years ago, and
Yeah,
thank
that's
you for
awesome.
being on, and also thanks for all the just the nice comments for these fellas and our expo. There's one about Kamon, what's next? Sunglasses that say Bee Expo on the lenses. That's a great idea. Does
It
anyone know
really
any
is a cool idea.
sunglass manufacturer? That's the next thing. Will there be a follow-up survey for the North American Honeybee Expo? That brings up a good point. They also they spelled it out, NAHBE. That is, for anyone who wants to say it, it's not Nabi. I know everyone's going that direction. It's Nabi. But honestly, it's the Bee Expo. That's the way I call it. Nobody's got time to say all that. The Bee Expo. It's super easy. It's super fast. It sounds cool. And it doesn't sound knobby. Okay? The Bee Expo. That's a pet peeve of mine. So now everyone's going to start calling it knobby just for spite. Just like a few other things. But as far
Awesome.
as the sunglasses go, maybe. And, one of the best ways to reach me is being at some of these meetings. So, like, when I go up to Wisconsin with Greg and all those people, that's what I love about those so much, is because they're smaller and there might only be 200 people there, 300 people there, and so it's easy and I'm not running the conference either, so I just get to hang out and shoot the bull all day and pick on Greg.
Well, you'll get to pick on the stream team too, because Bruce and Brian will also be making an appearance.
You guys
The
are
stream team will. We're going to drag them along as well. Yep.
Nice.
It's very fun. Thanks, Jose, for the super chat there. California in the house. We also have a super chat from Boom Chicka Wawa of $10. Thanks for sharing so much wisdom. It's great to meet you at the conference. Jake Osborne, thanks so much for world record honey entries. Let's go.
Oh yeah.
And JB says waging war against hive beetles in 24. And I'm not sure you're probably not up to date on my videos, but I have been battling hive beetles this winter. It's been ridiculous in one of my bee yards, and so that might be, I don't know if that's where that came from. Maybe he's got a problem too, but man, they've just been nasty down here. And usually the winter's not a problem, but this year in this one particular bee yard, it's been a nightmare. So
well,
anyway,
we actually, as we had all that snow that came and hit, that was really bad. And we had snow on the ground for over a week, and it was dropping down to 0. We were getting that Canadian and Wisconsin weather and all that kind of stuff. And the whole time I was grinning from ear to ear, just going, die, you little buggers, die. Because I know what that does to the small hive beetle population. Whenever we get a really hard winter bit like that, I always see a lot of benefits to the small hive beetles. But the problem is you don't get it long term. You need it several days of it, and no one down in Alabama prays for that, Bruce. Nobody.
Well, yeah, you're right about that. If we see a 35-degree day come in, people are just like, "Oh, we're gonna die." People down here, a lot of people can't stand the cold weather. And they got someone who's like from New York, and they're like, "Man, I love cold weather," and but most of the time, it's people that just cannot stand it. But one thing, really interesting, maybe we could take just a couple of minutes. One thing I've noticed in dealing with this hive beetle problem in the wintertime is, the methods I use in the summertime just don't tend to work as well, like the towels in there or the Swiffer sheet type things, or even the beetle blasters. What I've noticed is the hive beetles, instead of the bees running them out to the edges or down in the bottom and away from the bees or on the top bars, they live amongst the bees in the wintertime. And so they're all in the cells. It's just miserable. I don't know that they're reproducing as much, but man, they don't go out in the traps and things like you would think they would. So it's a totally different experience messing with them in the wintertime. But Got a couple more super chats. Thanks, South Cumberland Mountain Bees, Bee Works, and one other one that we had. Christian Bazilla, thanks for the super chat as well. I hope I've gotten everybody, mentioned everybody. We really appreciate you guys for being on here tonight. Well, Kamon, I'd like to kind of maybe start to wind it down a little bit. I'll go first with what I have going ahead, then maybe Brian, and then Kamon will let you talk for a couple of minutes about maybe what the future holds for either your bees or the expo or anything you want to add to kind of close it out. And then Greg will let you bring it on home. So in my situation, we're starting to ramp it up a little bit. I went through some colonies this past weekend and it was good. I still battling the high beetles and Ozark, but I went through a couple of other bee yards and man, they just look tremendous. And so it was nice to get in these colonies. A video will be dropping real soon in the next day or two. I've got it uploaded. I just need to put a thumbnail on it and kind of do any finishing touches and have it uploaded in the next day or two. As to actually seeing some bees that I do know how to keep a few bees alive instead of just trying to keep them, surviving from the high beetle issues I've had. I've learned a lot up at that bee yard this winter, and I'm going to try to turn it into something positive. And I believe the bees that survive up there are going to be good, strong bees coming out of that situation. So, but I'm just right now here in Alabama, I've been applying some fondant on colonies I think need it. My goal is to have super strong colonies so I can make strong splits. I'm not going to break them down. I've got a friend that calls it chop shopping. When you just go in and you break, a double deep into like 6 or 8 colonies and you chop them way down. I'm going to try and pull probably no more than 1 split from my colonies and try and make it strong so I can, have a good honey crop this year. And I do want to try and get involved with a little bit of queen rearing this year. And Greg, I know you do a lot of that. Kamon, you've done some too. I'm going to lean on Greg a little bit, maybe for some instruction there. I bought a queen rearing kit at the expo. And so, but it's just, right now we're on it. Within the next couple of weeks, it's going to be game on here. They're starting to bring in pollen already. And, it's just kind of it just gets crazy already. I'm not doing pollination this year, which I'm glad. Otherwise, I'd be planning on loading up a truck this weekend. My friends are doing that and I'm not, and I'm glad. So that's what's going on here. Brian, how about up in your neck of the woods?
Well, I tell you, I'm jealous of everybody down south. Just your season starting already. I wish that I could crack lids, but I'm going to take advantage of this warm weather. I think tomorrow we've got 50, and for Northeast Ohio, we've got 53, I think, tomorrow. So, like, the minute I'm done with work, I'm going to be straight over and doing an OA treatment on them just to, continue with my mite treatments. And I'll probably just check and see where they're at as far as fondant, things like that. But, we've got, you're saying another week you're going to be on. I think we probably have 6 weeks yet, 7 weeks up in my area before we really start playing around. So we've got time yet. Yeah.
Kamon, what's going on in your neck of the woods, man?
Well, obviously there's still a lot of work related to the Bee Expo that I'm ironing out. There's just a lot of details. Sometimes the hotel didn't do what it was supposed to. A few other odds and ends that we're having to do to prep for next year. So basically I took a couple days off and then was back to working on the Bee Expo. But that's okay. I really enjoy it. I love it. I do it mostly for the friends that are going to be there, but also I love this industry. I started when I was 14, so almost all my entire teen years and my entire adult life I've been around bees, and so anything that can better the bee industry is important to me. There's a lot of conversations that are going on that I can't talk about right now that are related to the bee industry and to things going on not just the commercial level, but just on the industry level that we need to do a lot better at. And so we're having those conversations with those types of individuals that can affect a lot of stuff. And so it's really important that I spend a lot of time on that, as well as there's a lot of things on the horizon that's a problem. Maybe it's just the same problems like fraudulent honey coming in. Maybe it's the problem of yellow-legged hornets needing to be tackled very aggressively down in Georgia. What can we do to help with that? what about the Canadian border? Some people don't like that idea, and some people want that open because it affects our economy by tens of millions of dollars having it shut. And some people don't like what it'll change, but that's part of growth in the industry. Whenever someone creates a queen right dial, they're upsetting somebody else's monitoring system. Maybe you're upsetting you're not doing that on purpose, but that's just the nature of the beast. If someone was using an app and now they like the queen right dial better, then that's what they're going to do. Or maybe someone else had a card system or whatever for monitoring their hives, or a piece of paper. But we've got to keep innovating and ultimately doing what's best for the beekeeping community. There's a lot of missed opportunities on the industry level, lots of missed opportunities. So that's what I'm dealing with behind the scenes, and there will be more on that in the future. It may be a year before I'm able to talk about it. But so we're doing that, and of course then there's bees and all kinds of other stuff. I don't really know where I'm going to be at with bees this year. This whole expo, industry-related stuff, working with companies and individuals has taken over almost everything in my life. And it's been a shock. If I do have a lot of bees this year, a lot will mean maybe 100 at the most. And that's kind of a bummer in some ways, but I'm sort of looking forward to it. Maybe it'll be even more fun than it has for me. And I'll be able to focus on doing videos that are more helpful. That's something that I want to get back to. A lot of people have asked in the comments about doing YouTube videos, and will I be doing them again? And yes, I will. I don't know exactly when the date's going to be, but it will be in the future. And we'll have the best videos that we've ever had. And this time period to kind of relax has been nice. YouTube's kind of a slave driver, and so it's been, used to, that was never part of my life, and then all of a sudden it was like every 2 days, where's the video? Why is the video not ready? And we've got to do this. We got to hurry up and get it done because Greg Burns just released a video on how to drop this in the hive, and I know I can do a better job than that guy can, so we can't let that pass. And so there's that pressure, and no one puts that on you but yourself. I'm a competitive guy, but not like my best competitors are some of my best friends. And so competing with, whether it's you guys, sometimes it's competing with Bruce on a video, sometimes it's Bob Benny, and Bob Benny usually thrashes me, but it doesn't keep me from trying. And Ian Stepler, he's easy. And so all that to say is that competitive spirit and all these things I'm excited about this year. I love what I do. My dad asked me about, he's like, Kamon, you're working a lot of hours, that can't be healthy. I'm like, Dad, if you could, I said this in Humberto's interview, if you could work deer hunting and make the same amount of money and do it for 70 hours a week versus a 40-hour work week, which is what you currently have, would you do deer hunting? Oh yeah. It's like, I'm all over that. So that's what I get to do every day, and the people that I get to work with by and large are people like you, and even Randy McCaffrey and several other people, and good people all over the bee industry. So I'm very blessed to do so. I appreciate you guys bringing me on tonight. I hope that you guys have wonderful seasons with your bees and with your businesses, and also with your family too. That's kind of important. Make sure you put that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Greg, bring it on home, man.
Well, from all of us here at the Stream Team Beekeeping Chat, we want to thank Kamon and all the folks who have spent time with us all of last year. We're all looking forward to a new year. What that holds for all of us is going to be exciting to kind of see. There's a lot in the future, I think, for all of us that we'll all be unfolding and talking about moving forward. From us here at Nature's Image Farm, we want to thank everybody for all your nuke, your package, your queen orders, the supplies. We would not be here without you guys. You guys are supporting what we're doing, our wax dip line of equipment. We can't do it without you. We appreciate you so much. I can't say it enough. If you get tired of us saying thank you, I hope so, because that means we're doing our job and showing our gratitude that we have for you. It's an exciting time to be a beekeeper. It's an exciting time to be in the mix right now with so many new things coming up, so many things going on. It's an awesome time. I do want to remind folks that if you are growing your beekeeping operation, if you are turning it into a business, if you have a beekeeping business, it's the time of year where we all are starting to really feel the pressure. We've got to grow. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. It can 100% eat you alive on the inside. It can take over your life. It can take away from your family time. It's easier said than done. But I want to remind folks of Mark 8:36. What would it profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his own soul? I just want to throw that out there, remind you that as you are building towards whatever you think you're building for, are you doing it for the right reasons? Once again, from all of us here at the Beekeeping Chat, the stream team, we want to say thanks for spending time with us here in the comments. A replay later. As always, we want to remind you to be the lighthouse and be the change you want to see in this world. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.